What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Musty Yeti's Tactical HQ. Well, a lot of you guys have been asking to see the final AR pistol, and here it is. Sorry it's taken so long. As you guys know, AR pistols can be really finicky, and this one is no exception. Before we go into what's going on with my pistol here, let's just go over what parts I have on it. Not in any order here, let's start from back to front. I have the Sig Sauer arm brace that functions quite well as a buttstock. Underneath that, we have the Spikes Tactical buffer tube kit, buffer tube assembly, whatever you want to call it, which includes the buffer spring, and the buffer tube, the end plate, and the castle nut. Now, the buffer inside that is the heavier T2, just for reference later down the road when we talk about the issues I'm having. You know, I'm not sure if the buffer spring inside of the Spikes Tactical buffer tube assembly kit is a heavier spring or not. If you guys know, please let me know in the comments. As we go forward, we have the Magpul ASAP, which has been rendered useless now. We'll get into what happened there. I have the Magpul K2, the steeper grip, the version 2, which has worked out really well. I actually like this so much I might switch all my other ARs to the K2 grip. We have the Spikes Tactical lower receiver. We have a Spikes Tactical upper receiver. Just a standard run-of-the-mill ambidextrous safety, nothing special there. Have the Magpul BAD lever, PMAG. Inside we have the PSA lower parts kit. Up here we have, underneath the rail, we have a Ice Arms 7.5 inch nitride coated barrel with their low profile gas block and their gas tube. We then have, I should go back up here, the EOTech. Obviously this is old, this has been reused from a previous AR. You guys saw this in another video. We have the Strike Industries charging handle. Back up here we have the Troy Industries 9-inch alpha rail. On top of that is the Magpul RSA for a sling attachment point, and at the very end is an Ovechsky KX5. Now I'll tell you one thing, guys, the fitment of that KX5 to that alpha rail is much tighter than I thought it was going to be. I did plenty of measuring before I bought the alpha rail, and using my caliper, there should be more room than what I'm seeing there. That thing is so tight, there's no way you're sliding that thing over without it marring up the KX5 a little bit. I've tried even tightening these down in certain orders to maybe make it more even so it's not pulling to one side or the other, but that sucker is on there and it's almost flush with that KX5. So I hope that's not causing me any issues, but it shouldn't, but who knows. Oh, and last but not least, inside we have the Aimster Plus nickel boron bolt carrier group. So let's get into the problems I'm having. So I'll go ahead and roll some video in so you guys can see what's going on. So I've gone shooting a handful of times over the course of a couple of weeks to try to figure out my issue. And when it comes down to it, my problem is I'm having failure to fires. It doesn't matter if it's the first round, the fifth round, or the last round. It doesn't matter. It's actually so sporadic, I'm having a hard time determining what's really the problem here. I insert a magazine. Like I said, it could be any number of rounds. It feeds successfully. I pull the trigger. I hear a click. Obviously I have a failure to extract and a failure to fire. So when it does the failure to fire, I do the old routine where you slam the buttstock, or in this case the arm brace, against a hard surface like my bumper while pulling the charging handle. I have noticed a couple of times that the bolt came loose but the round was still stuck in the chamber. Now that's happened 4 times. I've also saved those rounds and noticed that there is a light primer strike on those 4 rounds. You know, and it could be a list of things. I've talked to some friends, and you know, it could be anything from head spacing. I have switched the barrel out, and I would think if it was a head spacing issue, that would fix it. Neither my gunsmith or myself have a gauge to check head spacing, which is kind of unfortunate. But I figured if both barrels are having a problem, it's probably not the barrel. But anyway, it could be the head spacing. Obviously, it could be a gas issue. It could be a bolt carrier group issue. Somebody told me that I should check the trigger assembly and the hammer spring, thinking that it's not having enough force to properly strike the firing pin to hit the primer. It could be a buffer and buffer spring problem. Now, I think I've eliminated the buffer and buffer spring problem, but I guess that still could be the issue. So inside of the Spikes Tactical buffer tube assembly kit is obviously the T2 heavier buffer. Again, I'm not sure if that buffer spring inside is heavier. I have switched it out and tried pretty much every variable I can. So let's just assume there's a heavier buffer spring in here. I've tried, obviously, this setup, the heavier buffer, the heavier spring. I've tried a standard buffer, heavier spring. I've tried a heavier spring, standard buffer, and none of that seemed to fix the problem. I may or may not have even tried slapping this upper on a different lower and still had the issue, so I don't think it's the hammer spring. Like I said, it could still be the head spacing or the gas issue. I'm not really sure, but it's getting really frustrating. I said I'd explain later why this has been granted useless. So the SIG arm brace is attached by using friction only, and when the round gets jammed and I'm slamming my arm brace against a hard surface to pull the charge handle, get the round out, this has moved up slightly every time I've done that. This used to be, another inch back, about here or so. So now, for me doing that, it has moved forward and clamped the ring here that normally your sling attaches to. So it pretty much granted that ASAP useless. So if you guys are running the arm brace, if there's any doubts of your pistol running properly, you might want to change that out so you don't do what I did. So now I gotta figure out how to back this thing off. It's not easy. Anyone who has an arm brace knows that this thing's not easy to get on, so it's gonna be probably just as hard to get it off. I'm probably gonna table this issue for a little bit, guys. But like I said, I've gone out a handful of times the last 2 weeks. It's been in the single digits, and with wind chill, it's been in the negatives. I think I got a cold just from going out and going shooting, and it got to the point last time where we had to stop shooting because I physically could not even load a round into the magazine because my hands were so frozen. They were tingling for a few hours, which isn't good. So until it warms up, where I can go out there, really take my time. Hell, it may even take some notes of what I'm doing, because when it's cold like that, I'm trying to take my time, but I'm kind of in a hurry because it's cold, and it's just my brain's not there. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I have taken the AIM Surplus bolt carrier group out of this AR and tried it in my other AR, the one I built last time, the Sequence Precision, Mega Arms, Noveski, Daniel Defense Barrel, all that one, that AR, and it functioned just fine. So I don't think it's the bolt carrier group. So if you guys have any input of what you think the problem could be, please let me know. I'm willing to try pretty much anything. I hope to God it's not the barrel, because I've already got 2 and I hate to buy a third. I do have a friend, hopefully you see this, you know who you are, who might be able to get me the Noveski 8.5, which is what I really wanted to get the first time, but obviously it's out of stock. But that is a $300 barrel. And when you add that with the cost of what I've already done, I could have pretty much bought a whole other AR. So I'm really hoping that's not the issue. Is there anything else I can add to it? Let me think. Oh, the ammo I use. So a lot of people ask about the ammo I use to see if that's the problem. They're just reloads from a company called Columbia Basin Reloads. I've used them for years, as long as I've shooting ARs, and I bought my first one back in 04, 03, so 10 or 11 years ago. I've never had a single issue with it. I mean, obviously I've had a problem, maybe a handful of rounds over the past 10 years, but honestly, I don't think it's the ammo. I used that same ammo on the other AR with this same bolt carrier group and had 0 issues. My friends use it. My family uses that ammo. We don't have problems with it. Worst case scenario, guys, if I can't get this pistol running properly, I'm going to send it over to Spiro from Minutemen Munitions. When it comes to guns, I'm definitely not the smartest one. There are people out there that know much more than I do. But when it comes to my group of friends, I am borderline genius, a rocket scientist when it comes to building ours and knowing what to do to make them run properly. So there's no one to really talk to bounce ideas off of. It's mostly me just talking out loud and them nodding their heads and saying, go ahead and try that. Spiro's got a bunch of people around him that A, are smart and know their guns, and B, own pistols already. I think he has 4 or 5 people around him that own pistols or SBRs, because I think they can have SBRs in their state. So I'm going to sit in the upper, and between him and his 4 or 5 friends, hopefully they can really sit down, go out shooting, and figure out what the problem is. That's my absolute worst case scenario, but that's going to be after I do everything I possibly can to get this to run properly myself. Well, that's it, guys. That's my AR pistol. It looks awesome. I just wish it would function as well as it looks, but hopefully we'll get there. Yeah, again, if you guys have any recommendations on what I can do to get this thing running properly, please leave them in the comment box below. As usual, guys, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.